Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of How to Scale Your Agency. I'm on with Scott Scully. Scott has built an amazing company. You mentioned it was doing $54 million in revenue yearly. So, Scott, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Lucas. Just proud to be on the show. Again, Scott Scully, CEO, Abstract Marketing Group.
Yeah, man, it's really great to hear about how you guys have been able to grow just from our brief conversation before this. Would you mind sharing a little bit how you were able to get to the scale that you've been able to get to?
Yeah, we could talk for a long time on that one, right?
Yeah,
So you know what? In the first couple of years, I think just like anyone else, we took on business just to pay the bills,
right.
and it really was at a point where we started saying no,
Yeah,
actually, to certain types of business. We niched down, we got focused, decided who we wanted to be when we grew up, and that's where it kind of took off.
that's awesome.
Always, yeah, just every year reinvesting, and didn't take any outside capital in, and now
Okay.
sitting at this point, we put a ton of money monthly into our growth,
Right.
just to keep scale.
That's amazing. I hear this from every single 8-figure plus agency owner that I interview, where the trick to get to that point is niching down. That's like a common thread that I see. And then I ask them just to confirm, do you feel like that is the way every single agency should approach scale? I mean, if they want to get to 8 figures plus, is that really the goal, to niche down, or is there any benefit to staying super broad as an agency?
Yeah, that's a great question. So here's how I'll attack that one. We had an acquisition in the last year, and
Hmm.
they have not been doing that.
Okay.
They are selling to any industry nationwide, and they've grown quickly to a point. But
Right.
when we look at the business now go forward, it looks like it's going to be more difficult
Mm.
without picking particular niches and putting particular strategies in place. Um, and you know what? It's the delivery part of it that I think is the most difficult.
Right.
When you really thoroughly understand an industry, you're better at it. Your
Right.
retention's higher. Then you don't have to sell as much to keep the net growth going. So I believe in it wholeheartedly. If I was to start over again, I'd do it right away.
So you start with the niche and then grow into
Absolutely.
that niche. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that is definitely the one lesson I've learned the most from these agencies I've talked to. Um, a follow-up question on that is, do you feel like the inevitable conclusions for any agency getting to $10 million plus in revenue is not only to niche down, as we've talked about, but also to increase their rate for clients? So like go from charging $1,000 a month to then charging 5, 10, 20, $100,000 a month. Is it a rate increase as well that corresponds with going to become more niche?
I think that when you get better at what you do, you can clearly ask for more money, but there is a ceiling to that. So then you
Yeah.
have to decide whether or not you're going to offer other services to increase
Right.
spend within that account, or whether you're okay with a couple thousand per account to across hundreds of accounts. Kind of depends on who you want to be, you
Yeah.
know how many people you want on the bus. And
Yeah.
to us, it just feels good being across hundreds of clients at a small price point with some focused services.
Okay. So you guys do the volume game. So what's your average retainer, would you say, when you work with clients?
37.50 a month.
Okay. Wow. So you have a good amount of customers then that you work with at that price point. If you're doing $54 million a year in
we
revenue.
we do. I mean, obviously some lower, some higher, but we have about 1,700 customers, and we work in all 50 states,
Right.
and just now starting in the UK, which we're excited about.
Nice. And with that 3,700 price point, I mean, did you work into that too, or were you always at that price? Did you increase it to 3,700 over time on average?
Um, we we have tried different price points, but we have kind of worked up over time. We have found that right at about 4,000, we can't go any higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being that people start to think about the higher.
Right.
In a previous conversation that we had, I was talking about the best way to look at us is the, outsourced sales enablement,
Right.
the appointment setting, social media engagement, content creation. Um, you know, and then when it comes to generating leads, if somebody all of a sudden thinks, well, I can pay, for $4,000 a month, I can hire somebody, they start to think about it that way. It just becomes more difficult.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I encourage people to do and hear a lot about when I interview people as well, which is you want to be the most expensive in your segment typically. So in your category. So for you guys, outsource sales enablement, well, maybe it's not always most expensive because I'm sure there's other really expensive outsource sales enablement teams, but I would say your category is almost people who are looking for that extra support underneath the price point of hiring someone, like you said, but they're not necessarily looking for like an outsourced sales team of 50 people. Or do you take that approach? I mean, is it a utility-based thing as well, where if they like the success from one campaign, they then stack up and keep stacking to different, more robust strategies where you go from 3,700 to then like 10,000, 20,000 over time with a utility type metric?
Yeah. So most of our clients are small to medium sized. There are some people that'll do double or triple programs, but really what they're trying to do is have a more predictable number of new sales meetings on a monthly basis. So for the price point, depending on their industry, we give them a guaranteed amount over the course of a year.
Okay.
If we don't hit that by the end of the year, we work for free until we do. And
Nice. Okay.
the conversation we're having with people is the software that the tech stack that they would have to get before they even did the work. It almost reaches the price point, and then it isn't just about someone on the phone or someone writing content or developing the website. There's just a lot of hats, a lot of different types of people that are doing the work, and it's just too expensive.
Yeah.
To bring on that kind of talent, and we've
Right.
built the infrastructure. Why not do it for a fraction of the cost?
Very fair. And do you mind me asking, how much were you guys doing in revenue pre-acquisition? I mean, you mentioned that the acquisition itself has added a good chunk to that, but I'm assuming you were doing probably more than the acquiring price point, right?
Yeah, it was a substantial buy. I mean, they're going to do about 19 this year.
Okay, but you guys were doing 30 before then, or have you seen a lot of growth this year predominantly?
So we've been growing as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last year, we were in the 30s, and
Okay.
then combined. So we had a little stall during COVID. We did manage to grow. We
Yeah.
grew by about 1 million, but so we didn't go backwards.
No, that's great.
But yeah, it was just real nice synergy, and now both entities are growing. It's nice.
That's amazing. So how do you look at the next 12 months with this entire portfolio now, right? Like, so I'm assuming as the CEO of Abstract Management, now this new company that's rolled up into your group, how do you look at growth, and what's the strategic objective for 2022?
So we have some pretty specific growth goals. We have on each side of the coin $50,000 a month or $100,000 in monthly reoccurring revenue growth.
Net subscription growth every year.
So that'll take us over 60, well over 60. We've got a 3-year track towards 100.
Yeah.
And then we've got nice sized sales enablement teams on both sides,
right,
that are generating the right amount of new sales calls to get us where we need to be.
Okay, so your predominant strategy for acquiring new customers is that outbound lead generation. You use the same process you use for your clients, for yourself. Is that the thought process?
We do outbound and inbound. So we're in the company we just bought. It was 100% email marketing.
Okay.
Pretty large size email marketing company, but we use email. We're on LinkedIn. We're creating content. We're just tons of content on a monthly basis.
Right.
Creating a lot of video. And,
yeah.
Kind of getting we do a lot of paid. So
right.
just wherever people are,
Yeah.
wherever the most effective route is to get to the prospect that's best for us, we're there.
Right. Well, it's awesome to see. I mean, one thing that I think a lot of one of the stigmas with being an agency, I think, is that agencies are notoriously difficult to scale. They're high labor costs. And it's always refreshing seeing a business that's been able to get to the scale that you have as an agency. What is your secret? What do you think's been able to get you to this point so far?
Making it predictable. So
yeah,
when we decided, okay, these are the niches, here's the exact price point. So, when I say we average that price point, I mean, literally most of our people pay the same fee and get the exact same services.
right.
So over years, we know what our close rate is, when we're having new presentations, what our churn rate is. And then we just know how much fuel we need to put on the fire to have a predictable amount of growth. We can't do that if I'm not selling the same thing all the time, delivering the same thing. Right. And if I don't know those ratios as well as we know them.
How do you think about product then when you're building something? I've actually recently in the last 12 months focused heavily on the bottom and middle funnel. I used to have this amorphous blob, which was my services that I did for clients. And that was, God, I mean, we were able to get to 1.7 million in revenue, but we weren't, it's great. It's a great cash flow positive business, all that stuff. But and the thing is, if you just focus on that and selling people, you can get there quickly. We were able to get there fast. But the thing is, I'd rather be a lot more profitable and I'd rather be able to scale with a lot more focused of a strategy. So I think product has been on my mind a lot the last 12 months. How do you think about crafting a predictable product? I mean, what is the steps that you go through when you craft something that's productized?
There's a lot. It's just, what is that person on the team? What do they cost? What is the range that you can pay to keep it at the right margin? How many words do you write? What are the exact amount of dials that you make?
Yeah.
What are the number of appointments that you can promise? It's a little bit different in particular industries. But if you were to take a tour here, you'd see that on the outbound side of things, we've got a team of 10. There's a sales manager. There's 8 people making phone calls and sending emails. We're 8 SDRs. And there's what we call a partner performance manager that backs up if someone's gone or if they're behind goal.
Yeah.
And then there's an account manager that's attached to that team. And then there's a quality person for every 3 teams, a data person for every 3 teams. So it is all kind of modeled out and predictable. So when we add revenue, we know, the positions that we're adding or the outreach instance that we're adding or another Salesforce license. So at this point, it's pretty modeled out, which feels great because it wasn't always for sure.
So to get that predictability, we talked about niches earlier. I mean, what niche do you focus on with your lead generation? I mean, is there one that you feel is more strong than others?
Yeah. So primarily B2B. We don't do much.
So services, basically, service-based businesses.
MSPs, HVAC on the contract side, commercial cleaning. Construction is become a big one for us.
Right.
Doing the heavy lifting work for bigger construction companies looking to add another building at a college, just things like that. It's got to be a big enough project or the reoccurring revenue has to have enough of a margin where they can see an ROI by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's definitely something we've noticed. I mean, for lead generation in particular, service-based businesses make up about 50% of our revenue. So I definitely see the same pattern. One thing that I've formulated, and I'd like to hear kind of if you would recommend a similar strategy for other agencies, is, when you start your agency, you might start with a broader canvas, which I think we both agree is actually not the way you should start. Like if I had to redo it, I wouldn't do that way. But I think a lot of agencies get into that where a large majority of their customers are being fed this broad strokes strategy and not a niche one. So one thing that we've started doing, and I'm curious if this is what you did, maybe in year 3, 4 of your business as you started to niche more and more down. If you already have business that comes through, that's coming through on maybe an offer that's not necessarily niche, is a good strategy to keep that business coming through, but then start to formulate more niche type products that you can offer if that person comes through the funnel. So for instance, you mentioned HVAC. Let's say you get 100 meetings booked a month and only 15% of them are HVAC. Is it a wise decision to keep the rest of those businesses coming through, but then to have a separate product just for that HVAC company with all the testimonials of working for HVAC companies and everything? So that way that unique product for that HVAC business is productized and repetitive and predictable. Is that the way you look at things, and basically just is branding it as a unique product for that HVAC company? Or do you pretty much just sell the same thing to everybody and just say that you work with HVAC businesses really well? I mean, is that more of the approach you take?
Yeah, I mean, the services that we provide, just, it's all about building the predictable pipeline, but they work from a B2B perspective across most industries. What we send via email or how we connect on LinkedIn or what phone calls we make, the messaging is going to adjust, but the process that we follow is the same.
Right.
Where it's important for us to stay in the niches and build niche teams is if somebody, for instance, out, doing outreach and trying to bring on a new service contract customer for an HVAC company. And if they are working on 4 or 5 of those accounts and they really understand that industry, they can just deliver a higher level. Right. But for us, we have not changed the product per niche. Mm-hmm. We have kept the same product and we've built niche teams.
Got it. Specialists.
Yeah.
Very fair. Very fair. And maybe one thing that would be helpful for the listeners, some context, I think, on your story, your journey, right? Like, why'd you get into this? Why did you want to start a business? Tell me a little bit more about Scott Scully,
Yeah. So I've been at this about 28 years. Grew up in Iowa, went to college in Minnesota, went back to Iowa to work for about a year, and then wanted to get the heck out of Iowa and go see some other cities. Landed in Denver, Colorado, was there for about a year, and a friend came out to ski. Okay. And they had started a business back here in St. Louis, and they wanted some help from a marketing perspective.
Right.
And so I threw, my 3 clothing items in the car and anything that I had at that point, and came to St. Louis. And then it just kind of went quickly. The intent was to be in a marketing position, and then they had some salespeople that left, and tried to compete. And then all of a sudden I found myself going after that business and trying to save it for these guys. Then then all of a sudden I was selling, and then I was the top salesperson, and then we were sales account managers, and there's only so much time in the day. Yeah. I asked for a bigger percentage. Right. The guy laughed, said, go hire your own person. So I actually did that 4 or 5 times over out of my commissions. And then I ended up running sales. And then a couple of these guys went and started another division, and I actually ended up running that company. And then I got 30% of that company at a Christmas party.
Wow.
Problem was I was left behind. Yeah. Problem I earned it, right?
Yeah.
But, problem was I was left behind with the brother that they were running from. So I
Wow.
did that for about 8 years, and then I restarted another organization. Both of these were in automotive marketing and direct marketing space, and grew that next one, the second one, over 8 years to both of these were about 12 million bucks.
Wow.
And we got to a point in that second company where a vendor wanted to invest in us. They liked this. They had good products and services, and they liked the phone processes that we built and the culture that we built. And so they wanted to bring us into the fold to help them from an inside sales perspective. And I was going to run their automotive division, and it was much larger organization. The JM Family Enterprises, Southeast Toyota, it was much bigger, and it was going to be a good thing for our people.
Yeah.
And then everything crashed,
Oof.
and including
2008, you mean?
Yeah, right. We sold 2 weeks before that actually happened.
Oof.
So
that's nice though.
Lucky,
Yeah.
but my earnout changed. And what ended up happening is just renegotiated, took 3 people on the outside and did their marketing for them, and didn't have any idea really what I was going to do. And that's kind of where you're just taking the work, and figuring things out. And then I got together with a couple of partners that I've been with in the past. And, the thing that we kept coming back to was this sales process. The thing that allowed us to grow so fast over these 2 companies. And, what would it look like if we put that together and resold it to other entrepreneurs, and made a whole bunch of mistakes putting it together. and then when we started to figure things out, it was needed. It took off. Agencies are a perfect example. Super creative, do good work, don't always love to sell.
Yeah,
and
that is a big theme.
And we just found a lot of niches like that. IT is a perfect example where, look, I want to fix computers. I want to design network infrastructure and make sure people are secure. I don't want to go out and get a new client.
Right.
So we just went and found industries like that really appreciated this process, and then that's where it took off.
What a great story. And you guys, if you had to track your revenue growth over you said 13 years is when Abstract Management was founded. 13 years ago, you said?
12.
12. Okay.
Yeah. So we've been in business 12 full years.
Would you say the growth has been steady and compounding, volatile, or exponential, like just exponential growth?
So we've had at least 20% growth year over year, every year, other than one.
Which one?
And it was what year was it? It was either year 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And we just experienced some significant growth and made some mistakes and did it the wrong way and learned in a hurry.
Yeah.
And since then we've been better at growing and getting ready for growth.
Yeah.
But we have had consistent growth year over year.
Yeah, that's awesome though. I mean, because it just goes to show that you just gotta stick to it. Obviously, you gotta stick to it. And you have to have a great sales process. And you mentioned a guarantee, right? Like you guys do the guarantee. That's something that we've been really starting to do more of is offering guarantees. That's actually what we do as well, which is at the end of X month we'll still keep working with you. What would you say have been the best strategic decisions you have made regarding your offer that have helped to scale your agency over the years?
Exclusivity.
Ooh, got to snap to that. Yeah, that's I got to hear what you got to say.
Well, I mean, people hate it.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're thinking, well, gosh, we can really do well in this industry, and I'm in this market and I've closed somebody, and I could probably get somebody else in that market pretty easily, but I can't because I've locked it up. And although it has potentially caused lack of growth in particular markets, I think it has helped us sell faster.
Right.
It's helped us keep clients. They appreciate the fact that we're working with them exclusively. And then I think there's something to be said, from a results perspective, right? If I'm pounding on the same 1,000 people for 3 different outfits, then I'm probably not going to be as successful as just really thoroughly working those 1,000 companies on behalf of one.
Yeah.
But I think exclusivity is probably the biggest thing that we've done that's helped us.
Well, it's like, you're creating demand by limiting supply. So I think that's a very good thing, and something I just recently started doing. And that was, dumbest decision ever to wait this long, but it is something I've started to do, which is, we only work with this many people every month, which makes sense because you have to be real with yourself. Like if somebody said, could you handle 100 clients this month? No, like I couldn't handle 100 clients this month, new clients, right? Like, so you just put the cap on whatever you actually can reasonably do,
So what we'll do is, so we've got these focus niches and we've got market attacks. And so let's say that Minneapolis is open for IT. Then what we'll do is use our sales enablement department to generate appointments. And the messaging is, look, we're going to talk to the top 4 or 5 IT companies in Minneapolis over the next week. And then within 2 weeks, we're going to pick one to partner with. And so there's this sense of urgency, and of course they're competitive. And the top people are competing for the same business anyway, and they don't want the other guy getting there first. And so, there is a market share thing that goes along with it.
That's super smart. Yeah, no, it's just, I recently read this book called $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy, and he's just similar mindset. Very, very interesting. And with the guarantee, I mean, did you always do that? Did you always have that? Or did you guys add that recently in like the last few years?
Last year, we added it just last week we had it. We have had it for quite a few years. We did not always have it. And we wanted, building a pipeline's tough. Yeah. And people usually think about that, the kind of work that we do as a shot in the arm instead of a long-term approach. And it just helped us sell people on doing things for the long haul. Yeah. If they knew that maybe I'm not getting the number of meetings that I want right now, but if I get to the end of the year and I don't get those, they're going to keep working for me until I do. Then we were able to get people to do it longer, and then that just immediately helped us be more successmal and have more 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year clients.
And for that 3750, I mean, how many meetings do you target per month for clients? Does it depend heavily on the industry, or do you have like an average?
It does depend heavily on the industry. If from an IT perspective, we do 60 over the course of a year, or 5 meetings a month. These are people that are in their exact criteria with the exact individuals they want to meet, president, CIO, whoever it is.
Heavily qualified individuals. Yeah,
really qualified. And then there's other things we do with that. There's phone calls, there's email, there's a portal that we give them where they can, manage leads, hear calls, and then we also create sales assets for them to use over the course of the year, like sell sheets and case studies and motion graphic videos and things that they can use in the sales process. That's all in that fee.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been an amazing interview. I really wish I could keep you on for another 4 hours and ask you, hundreds of questions, but I can't. So I'm going to wrap it up here. But we usually do a lightning round towards the end just to benchmark, because, there's a lot of limited data out there, especially on agencies. SaaS companies have so much information, but agencies, it's kind of a black hole a little bit. So just wanted to ask you a few ones we ask everybody here at the end. But how old are you?
I am 52.
52. Nice. And then agency age 12 years. You mentioned predictable a lot. Is a book you've read or are reading Predictable Revenue by chance?
I have, but
yeah,
Yeah,
I was just curious because I always ask any book recommendations. So I don't know if you would recommend that one or another one.
I would recommend that one, but I would recommend the One Thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's the concept of getting to the most important things and making sure that you do those by the end of the day, whatever order they come in. It's kind of the difference between success and not.
Yeah, Gary Kelly, great guy, great business person.
We hand it out to everybody that hires on.
Oh, really? All of your clients or just any employee?
Every team member internally.
Very smart. I think I'm going to start doing that with $100 million offers. That's been a game-changing book for me.
That's a good idea.
And what's the end goal at the agency? Sell it, or are you going to harvest this thing? And, I hear very different answers from people, but I'm curious.
I don't know that we've really defined that. Like at our core, we're just trying to grow so that we can impact more lives, internally here, and then externally with our clients, helping them grow. That's kind of number one. The only thing that we have super defined is revenue and client target for the next 3 years, and how we're going to get there. But
yeah,
I'm not closed to letting go if it's the right thing for our team, if they can be in a better spot.
Yeah, I get that. And how would you value the agency today? Like, would you value it on revenue as a multiple on revenue, or would you value it on EBITDA? And what would that number be? Like, how much would somebody have to pay in a check for you to walk away?
I don't know. Good question. It's probably never enough, right?
Yeah.
I've watched people sell their companies, some friends, and it doesn't seem like anyone's ever satisfied with the final number.
No.
Right? And then they're always like stressed and working harder after they just made millions of dollars. It's super confusing. So I don't know.
How would you encourage agencies to think about their multiple then? Would you say most agencies to think about like 2x revenue at 54 million? I mean, is there like a benchmark you'd probably use?
I think that obviously it's going to depend on your consistency of growth, right? And just making sure that you can prove to do that. If you can do that, then you can command a higher multiple. I'd probably look at a 2x top or a 8 to 10 bottom line.
Yeah.
A lot of times 2x top, if you're spending a lot of money on growth, but you're still predicting that you're going up and you're not as profitable as you could be because you're investing in growth, then probably 2x top line.
Man, this has been a fantastic interview. So thank you so much, Scott. And I know everybody here is, definitely benefited from listening. And Scott, you mentioned at the beginning you wanted to pretty much just share your wisdom. But are you sure there's no way anybody can reach out or help you out anyway?
Look, we're interested in helping people build sales pipelines. If you need more new sales meetings, we would love to help you out. If you want to see if we have a market open, reach out to us. You can get to us at abstractmg.com. It's abstract with a K. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Scott Scully, Scully. Either one of those ways works.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, everybody. And this is Scott with Abstract Management. His company's scaled over the last 12 years to $54 million in revenue. Recently just acquired a new email marketing business. Looks to scale in 2022, 20% compounding growth year over year. So thank you so much, Scott, for being on the show. It's been great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you too.